And then we go into tabletop. Now, there's two ways of doing this. There's neutral spine and flat back. So I'm going to get Natalie to pop her fingers back into the small of her back. She might need to lift her back up to get her fingers in. And there's quite a bit of pressure, more than before, because of the angle of your legs. So it's kind of it's a pressured neutral. So toe dipping, we're going to do toe dipping both in neutral spine and in flat back. So again, not such a good position for the shoulders because it internally rotates. We've got a headrest, we've got that sorted out. So quickly go through your setup, where your head's at. Is your ribs connected? We are Shiva. We've got a couple of sets of hands and we've checked that transverse is switched on inside the pelvis and the hands are propped into the small of the back. So the action is going to be, we take an inhale, and as you exhale, just gently draw one knee away from you. And then inhale, come back. Now be mindful that these legs are not going to be dropped down here, because what's going to happen if I do that, it's going to pull it back up. So when I'm first starting doing this movement, I tend to lift the legs up even higher and direct my toe upwards towards the ceiling, because the weight of the leg is going to help keep you in alignment. Inhale, exhale. So as you're exhaling and the leg is drawing away from you, you're focusing on maintaining that connection to the fingers. So as soon as that pressure is lifting, you're probably sliding out of neutral.
Yeah, it wants to lift.
It wants to lift.
At the end, yeah, it wants to.
Just a tiny bit. So as soon as you feel it starting to lift, that's kind of your visual cue. You'll be able to see how far your knee is away when it's starting to lift. You might notice you've got one side a little bit stronger than the other. And don't forget your Ujjayi breath. That's going to keep reminding you to stay connected to the breath. When we start challenging ourselves with stomach exercises, I want you to really start thinking about squeezing out the last sort of 10% of that breath, because that's when you really want to stabilize. That's when the juicy work is really happening, when your stomach muscles are switched on and you're squeezing your breath out, which is making those stomach muscles really work to help stabilize. So as that end range, you're really squeezing and working that last 10% of the breath. Fabulous. So if we were to do this exercise in flat back, now granted, most Pilates mat exercises are done in flat back, which is not necessarily the position of strength. You ask, what is the difference between flat back and neutral? Good question, you might ask. Neutral spine is your spine's natural shape. It is the position of strength for your spine, and it's the alignment that we want when we're deadlifting, when we're lifting, when we're performing certain movements. Flat back is your whole spine is imprinted or in contact with the surface that you're working on. The muscles in your back are not particularly working, in the sense that because you've gone out of neutral, your QL or your muscles in your back are in a lengthened position, so they're not contracting and they're not necessarily working. It does, however, require brute stomach strength. So I want all my people to know the difference between neutral and flat back in all planes of movement, meaning on your side, on your back, in standing, on all fours, to know the difference and to be able to do it. So what you're going to need is a strap. So cotton yoga strap, okay, you can cheat a little bit with those, meaning you can get away with a lot more. I like to use climbing binding. It's kind of a nylon, it's a bit sort of smooth, it's quite thick. You could use a necktie, but that's a bit thin. And I'm just going to get Natalie to pick her hips up, and we're going to pop it right underneath her belly button. This strap is at least 2 meters long. It is also for stretching and lots of other things we use it for. Right. Okay, so we've got a strap that's about 2 meters long. It's also for stretching as well. It's also so that we've got enough that we can pull. I have the strap right underneath Natalie's back. It is in line with her belly button. So we've measured it and we've laid the strap flat. In neutral, I can just pull that strap straight out. So if Natalie was to hug, and when I cue this movement, I go lift one knee first. Sometimes you can talk your back and then lift the other one and then grab hold of your knees and give yourself a little hug. Now the strap is not moving. It's not going anywhere. I'm giving it a really good pull there. So that's imprint. There we go. It's quite difficult to maintain imprint and stay flat. And the minute, there we go, now it's starting to move. But look at the neck, just went really revolting and tight then.
I'm not letting it go. Yeah.
So when you're at home, I go one hand hugs your knees, one hand is holding onto the strap. Now, when the strap moves, Natalie can feel it. So this is just a feedback tool for you to know if you're coming out of flat back. How else would you know? She's been practicing, you see. So bring those legs back up. We knew the other day that we just need a tiny bit of headrest for Natalie because it was making her, she was working so hard, her neck was starting to get a little bit tight. So with just a slight wedge, just a slight hand lift, it's taken that away. Oh. And now you're holding your breath. No? Okay. So this is where the breath is really going to help you here. So we inhale. As you exhale, your right knee draws away from you. It's moving already. So when I first started doing this, I had to bring my knees here and I could move my knee 2 inches before my strap moved. It's a bit demoralizing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you've got to know where you're at. And that's your jump off point, meaning if that's where you're at, that's where you need to go back to. There is no point cheating or doing those great big leg exercise. You know, those horrible movements where someone stands at your head and throws your legs down to the ground. That one, oh, it drives me crazy. Anyway, maybe for Ronda Rousey might be strong enough to maintain those, but and then also if you add a little bit of chest lift, so one hand behind the head to support the head and just to curl and connect the ribs to the hips makes that a little bit more successful. Inhale here. As you exhale, just draw one knee away from you. Nice. Inhale, come back. Exhale, left knee draws away. Oh, just move there. Inhale, exhale, right knee draws away.
To maintain this.
I'm pulling it quite hard, like a dog that's not been for a walk for 3 months is on his way to the beach and he can smell the ocean and he's pulling you to the beach. It's that kind of tension. So I'm being quite mean here.
It's good.
So this is where that squeezing that last 10% of that breath out is really going to make you a lot more successful, make you work harder and get you stronger much quicker.
And connecting the ribs makes a big difference too.
Yeah, this curling up and imagining the ribs are connected to the hip bones. So it's also a bit of a visual cue as well. You learn quite quickly, holding onto the strap, that I know I can get my knee to around about there before I know I've got to work extra hard and that my right side is weaker or stronger than the left. So it gives you it gives you parameters as to where you're at. So that's flat back toe dipping.